If you've ever been on Webtoon, then you're probably familiar with at least one of these 5 Webtoon originals. And if you know more than one, then you probably know that they are all written by the same person, Carnby Kim. What's a little less known is his 7 other works. Hello, and welcome to the complete guide to Carnby Kim. Hang Doll. In 2008, Hang Doll was published by a group called Team Getname on Korean Webtoon. Team Getname consisted of 2 people, Aruani and Carnby Kim. Aruani is a great author in his own right. I love Dr. Hound, but he is not the focus of this video, just know he's also great. Hang Doll is about a group of people whose memories all start with a crime that occurred in 1994. They are brought together when they each receive a card with a hanging doll on it and start getting hunted down by a mysterious organization. They must work together to solve the mystery of the hang doll and their memory to live. It's not a bad read, but I'll be honest, the art's a bit shit and the story's pretty messy. I mean, it's their first work, and trust me, it only gets better from here. Superior Day. The second work published by Team Getname, Superior Day, is kind of a sequel, but mostly not at all related to Hang Doll. The story follows a guy who receives a message telling him his neighbor is a serial killer. The one who sent the message is a hitman who has been hired to kill the serial killer. The hitman kidnaps the main guy's daughter and gives him 24 hours to kill the serial killer, or no more daughter. And thus ensues regular dude vs serial killer antics for 40 chapters. The jump in quality from Hang Doll is insane, considering that they were published less than a year apart from each other. Obviously the art can't compete to the insane shit done by other manhwa creators, but it's much better than before. And the story, man, I mean, it literally got a TV adaptation last year, 14 whole years after its release. Meloholic. A few years later, in 2011, Team Getname released a new series, Meloholic. It follows a teacher who has no experience with love trying to navigate a romance with a woman he met at a park. Oh, and he can also read minds? A sweet romance story with a little supernatural element? That doesn't sound very Carnby Kim, you say. Haha, yeah. Don't worry, you won't be disappointed. I feel like this is where Carnby and Aruani really started to find their style and what kind of stories worked. You can describe the older Carnby works as everything matters and nothing is as it seems. They're definitely fun to read, despite the slightly traumatic content. City of Dead Sorcerer. While it's published under Team Getname, this is actually a Carnby solo work, with him both writing and drawing the entire thing. The story is set in 2030. A substance called mana has been discovered, and humans are able to manipulate it through different technology. We follow a detective as he hunts down a crimson-robed vigilante killer who's able to cast spells without manipulating the mana around him through tech. Kinda like, I don't know, a sorcerer? Throughout the series, we get to see a bunch of cases and meet many groups of people that have been able to manipulate mana since long before its scientific discovery. In usual Carnby fashion, nothing is as it seems and everything is connected, leading to one fucking awesome ending. City of Dead Sorcerer is insane. Like, it's more than double the length of anything he's made before, and he fucking nailed it. Not only that, this was being published concurrently with Meloholic. How? This is my second favourite Carnby work. It's funny but still has great action and plot, and I'm pretty sure I cried the first time I read this. I was introduced to Carnby through his Webtoon originals, so this felt super different on the first read, but in reality it's more like his actual style. I mean, the guy hates horror. I don't know how to explain it, but this series is the embodiment of why I love Carnby Kim, which is weird to say when it's technically not even my favourite. Also, this currently has an animated adaptation in the works, which I'm looking forward to, especially since they fixed Crimson Robe's hair. Bastard. Originally published in 2014, in 2015 it became the first Carnby work to be published as an original on English Webtoon. At this point, I'd call it a classic of the manhwa era. I'm sure you know it, but basically Bastard is the story of the son of a serial killer, his first love, and the struggle to be free of his father. I still cry every time I read this. This is not only my favourite Carnby work, but one of my favourite series overall. Aside from being a fucking masterpiece, Bastard is also notable for being the first official Carnby work outside of Team Getname and the first time Carnby worked with an artist, which he would continue to do for every work published since. As for Team Getname, they have done no collaborative work since Meloholic, though rather than split up, it feels better to say the team's just inactive. Aruani and Carnby don't appear to be on bad terms or anything. From the look of things, Carnby just wanted to publish a lot more series and Aruani wanted to work at his own pace. Unknown Code. Unknown Code is a series that was originally published to promote a game of the same name. Funny thing is, the game went under a few months after release and the promotional manhwa adaptation ended up outlasting the game, releasing over a year and a half. Anyway, Unknown Code is set in a world where aliens are tormenting humans by slipping into technology and messing with the human victim's brain. After he killed his infected mother, our MC, an epic gamer might I add, is made to become a Forcer by a maybe the government organization. A Forcer can fight the aliens by logging into the digital space and using their mental health as currency to craft weapons. But they have to be careful because if you die in the game, you die in real life. I didn't have high expectations for this after finding out the story behind it, but I enjoyed it much more than I thought I would, so take it as you will. The Last Old Man. This is the one Carnby work I'm guessing no one has ever heard of, so allow me to flex my Carnby knowledge. In 2017, a group of 9 authors popular on the Korean version of Webtoon came together to create a short story collection called Brave New World. It was themed around a dystopic future and had some very good stories. I recommend reading Loop, or just the whole collection if you can find it. Anyway, of course one of the authors featured was Carnby Kim, who wrote the story Last Old Man. Last Old Man follows the story of Joshua, an artist who recently awoke from cryogenic sleep. As it has been hundreds of years since he was put to sleep, he becomes lonely and buys a vacuum robot with the same name as his dead daughter to keep him company. However, there's more to this robot than just cleaning. It has the ability to paint. The rest of the story follows Joshua's mental breakdown because of a robot that can paint, as well as some other twists. Go read it for yourself. I'm not going to spoil it. Sweet Home. Alright, this is the big one. Sweet Home. Surely you've at least heard of Sweet Home. It was massive. It has a soon-to-be 3-season Netflix adaptation and a whole prequel webtoon. But to summarize, Sweet Home is an interesting take on the zombie apocalypse genre. The main character gets stuck in his apartment complex with a group of other survivors as the zombie apocalypse starts. They have to fight the monsters in the building, outside of the building, and the monsters within themselves? I think it's extremely difficult for Carnby to make a series that will compete with Sweet Home's popularity. He definitely can, and I think he has, written something better, but in terms of mainstream, this is the peak. Gorgon. Released in 2018, Gorgon follows the story of a guy who has the ability to kill people by looking at them in the eye. He grew up in an orphanage, as he killed his parents with this ability. At the orphanage, years later, he meets a young blind girl and begins to live his life as a blind person to prevent himself from accidentally using his ability. Despite finding a way to live peacefully, he gets swept up in assisting a detective with a murder case. The detective also happens to know a lot about his past and believes he may be involved with his parents' death. There's also a guy who grew up in the orphanage with MC who's trying to shut down the orphanage and also commits a lot of shady business practices. In the midst of peak Carnby works, Gorgon is a bit of a shitter. I'm not saying it's bad. I enjoyed it. I thought the concept was very cool and I was pretty invested throughout the whole thing. The only thing is, a lot of the characters, MC included, are just a bit of a dick, and the ending wasn't to the same high standard as the other works. Out of 12 works, having 2 that aren't bad but are just noticeably less good than the others is pretty darn impressive. Also, despite being his first work since Sweet Home, it didn't receive an original on English webtoon. Pigpen. A year later, Pigpen was published, and for some reason, this one did get an English original. A guy wakes up on an island with no memories. There he meets a family living there who take care of him while he recovers. But not everything is as it seems. The family's a little off, to say the least. There's a gardener who seems to know more than he lets on, and a mysterious series of numbered pixelated photos. When you compare Pigpen to just the other webtoon original series, it feels very out of place. The art's so different and the story is much less straight up face value. To me, Pigpen feels like a step back into the Team Get Named Carnby era, which is a good thing. I mean, I love Pigpen. Shotgun Boy. In 2021, the prequel to Sweet Home, Shotgun Boy, was released. The story follows a high school student who is being horribly bullied. On a school trip, everything boils up at once, and he ends up pissing off the bully and running for his life out into the bush. After falling down a cliff, he finds a shotgun and 30 bullets. And it just so happens that his entire class and teacher is also 30 people. What a fun and completely irrelevant fact. Haha. Anyway, so with his newly found shotgun, he heads back to camp where the other students are performing a talent show. He busts down the doors and bam! The entire class is being held hostage by brain-devouring humanoid tentacle monsters, and thus begins the fight to survive the night. Shotgun Boy is amazing. I liked it more than Sweet Home. The first 8 chapters are so good, and everything after is just as good, and the epilogue is so good. Yeah, you get the idea. Flawed Almighty. Starting while Shotgun Boy was still releasing and is currently ongoing is Carnby Kim's latest work, Flawed Almighty. In Flawed Almighty, we follow an ex-delinquent who gets cursed by God to perform good deeds for others. If he doesn't, he gets sent to hell forever. So for now, we follow his attempts at reform, some demon fights, and general antics. Like I said, it's still ongoing, so for now that's really all I know. For me, Flawed Almighty feels very reminiscent of City of Dead Sorcerer, and I really like City of Dead Sorcerer. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing how this continues. So what's next for Carnby Kim? I'd say most people are expecting a Sweet Home sequel, especially after how Shotgun Boy ended. But surprisingly, Carnby's revealed he's not sure if he'll ever make it. Instead, Carnby has shown sketches of a work-in-progress series. I don't really care what it is, I'd be more than happy if we ever did get a new series from Carnby Kim. Thank you for your time.